Good evening, all. A warm welcome to all members and our esteemed speaker for today's Dietopedia. As we all know, Dietopedia is a monthly CNE we conduct about different topics in the nutrition and other topics related to our nutrition. So, to begin the session formally, let me welcome our Vice President, Jyoti James, to take over the mic. Over to you, Jyoti.
Thank you, Ma. Good evening, everyone. It gives me an immense pleasure to welcome you all to today's Dietopedia session, presented by the Community Nutrition Forums in association with IPAN India Kozhikode Chapter. On behalf of CNF Kerala and IPAN Kozhikode Chapter, I extend a very warm welcome to all our members, nutrition professionals, healthcare professionals, and everyone who has joined us today. Today's session focuses on a very important and relevant topic, food safety, value or priority. Food safety is much more than simply complying with regulations. It is about creating a culture where safe practices become part of our everyday behavior, responsibility, and professional commitment. As nutrition and healthcare professionals, understanding food safety is an important part of protecting the health and well being of the communities we serve. And today, we are privileged to have with us highly accomplished professional with over 2 decades of experience in food safety and quality assurance across the Middle East and North Africa. Introducing our speaker, Ms. Veena. Ms. Veena is a seasoned food safety and quality assurance leader with extensive experience in advancing food safety standards and building strong food safety cultures. She has trained, mentored, and empowered thousands of professionals across the manufacturing, retail, hospitality, and restaurant sectors. Veena is an approved food safety trainer across multiple municipalities in the UAE and is recognized for her ability to translate complex regularity requirements into practical, behavior based systems that drive sustainable improvements in food safety performances. Her expertise also extends to learning management system, that is LMS, where she has designed and implemented large scale digital learning programs to strengthen capability development across diverse industries. Academically, Veena holds an MSc in Food and Nutrition from St. Teresa's College, Ernakulam, BSc in Food Science and Quality Control from NSS Hindu College, Chennasheri, and a postgraduate diploma in Dairy Technology from UAE. She also holds professional credentials including HACCP Level 3, ISO 22000 Lead Auditor, Food Safety Level 4, and CIPD Level 5 in Learning and Development. Based in Dubai, UAE, she brings together extensive technical expertise, strong training and learning capabilities, and a genuine passion for developing people. Her ability to bridge regulatory standards with practical implementation has made her a trusted professional in advancing food safety excellence across the region. But beyond all these impressive professional achievements, for me personally, Veena is also someone very special. She's my dear best friend. So it gives me an even greater pleasure to introduce her today, not only as an accomplished professional whom I deeply admire, but also as someone I'm fortunate to call my bestie. I would also take the special moment to appreciate her for accepting our invitation despite her very busy schedule and committing her valuable time to be with us today. We truly understand that her time is precious and her willingness to make time for this session means a lot to us. Veena, we are truly delighted and honored to have you with us. We look forward to hearing your valuable insights and learning from your vast experience on how food safety can move beyond being a regulatory requirement and become a strong, sustainable culture in practice. Once again, a very warm welcome to you, Veena. And now, without taking any more time, I'm happy to hand over the session to my dear friend and our distinguished speaker, Ms. Veena Gopalakrishnan. Over to you, Veena.
Thank you so much, Jyoti, for that lovely introduction. And first and foremost, thank you to the Community Nutrition Forum for having me here, especially during our pre-Onam sessions and celebrations that we have. So thanks once again to each one of you. And I'll share my slide in a bit. Let me know if you can see. All good. You can see the screen well, right? You can hear me well. Fine.
Yeah.
So once again, thank you, Jyoti, for that lovely introduction. And as Jyoti said, I have spent most of my life, past 20 plus years in food safety, training people in food safety, implementing food safety SOPs and standards. And what I have noticed is over the past many years, I've noticed a gap between what people know and what people actually do. So there's a knowledge gap, and it's at the same time there is also a gap between what people know and what people actually do. And this is a topic which I wanted to bring into you as a simple question, which is food safety, value, or priority. Now, I would request you to hold this question a bit loosely now, for the next half an hour, and we will go into details in this half an hour, and I'll leave the question finally towards the end of the session for you to think whether it's actually a value or a priority, or whether you should be taking it as a value or a priority in your institution, in your organization, or wherever you talk about food safety. Now, before that, let me also hear from you. Now, in the chat box, just to just initiate your brain and give a teaser to your brain, let's do a small icebreaker activity. Now, in the chat box, please do share two things about yourself: a value you live by, a value you live by. When I say value, something close to your heart, something you will never compromise on, whatever happens. So, just one or two values that you keep yourself close to your heart, and one or two priorities that you're proud of ticking off this particular week. The priority might have been in your list for quite some time, but this week you're proud to say that I have ticked off, from my to-do list. So one or two values and one or two priorities that you have ticked in the list in this particular week. And I'll pause it for a minute, and then you can share the answers in the chat, and we'll see what are the answers in there. Okay, so let me look at the chat uh, box there. Yeah, go ahead. Okay. Yeah, are you typing in the chat box? Yeah, I can't see any messages here in the chat box.
There is only one reply.
Okay,
No.
so yeah, so it is okay. Let me repeat the question. So I want you to, before we start with the actual topic where food safety is a value or a priority, I want you to write any two values that you hold close to your heart, and any two priorities that you have actually ticked this particular week. I mean, you have accomplished that priority um, in this week. So, for example, like let me start with an example from my end. Now, if I say a value, what I hold close to my heart is telling no. So if I don't like something, a particular, it depends on the instances, but then a particular thing which I said no to my friend this week. She asked me for something which I was totally against my all values, and I said no to her. She was repeatedly calling. Even today, she called me 3 or 4 times. I said no, I will not be able to help you in that. A priority which I have picked this week was actually buying uniforms for my daughter for this week. It was kept on hold for quite a few weeks, and this week I can say yesterday I was able to buy her uniforms, complete set of uniforms for the school where it is reopening next week. So that would be my priority and my values. So I have seen Jyoti have put her values are integrity and leadership, and priority is knowledge and support. Um, yes, yeah. So I mean, I can't see the slides and the chat box together, so that's why I put it here. Fine. So value is something. Uh, the value is something which you hold close to your heart. So I think I can move on. I think we have got one example here, and I've also shared another example from my end as well. I will share the slide. Jyoti, please confirm if
Yeah,
we can see
yeah,
this.
it's going.
Okay, fine. So as I said, value is something which you do not compromise, which you for which you do not have a deadline at all. So you hold it close to your heart. And a priority is something which you could change this week, but you have it in the next week, or maybe depending upon the circumstances. Yeah. So why I wanted to ask you is this, because when you see the value, so when you see some of the examples, at least which the example that I share and example that Jyoti shared, you would have understood that value is something which doesn't have a deadline. You will always be looking into it, whatever happens. You will be always keeping it close to your heart, whatever happens, but priorities can change. Now, giving it more detailed look. So when you say value and priority, these are not the same. Values are core beliefs, as I said again, which is not situational at all. I mean, whatever situation happens, even if you're under stress, under pressure, you're strongly holding on to that core beliefs, and it is long term, and you do not change. For example, honesty, integrity, saying no when you do not like something, being compassionate, being empathetic to others. All these are values that you can hold close to your heart. Another example is being disciplined, being punctual. These are few examples. Yes. Now, when it comes to a priority, the priorities change. It's according, for example, like every day you have a to-do list, especially all of us who are working, we do have a to-do list. And even anybody, even if you're staying at home, a working mom, you would have a to-do list. So you would have few things from your work, you would have few things from your for your home, and for friends and other circles as well. Now, what happens is these priorities can change according to your situation. For example, now we're attending this session with me here. You might get a call from your daughter telling that, please pick me up from my dance class, or you might get a call from your mother-in-law that I am not feeling well, can you come over and address the situation. So the priorities do change, whereas the values do not change. So that is the difference that I'm trying to bring in here. And priorities are situational, and they also change under stress and depending upon the circumstances, the environmental circumstances that you have. So altogether, I would like to summarize as to what is a priority, what is a value. A value is something that guides your identity. So it tells you who you are. As I said, it is strongly inbuilt in you, it is engraved in you. When it comes to a priority, it changes. It changes according to your to-do list, and it drives your schedule. So that is the difference between a value and a priority. In few minutes, we'll understand why am I focusing on value and priority from our point of view, and then we go on to why food safety can be a value or a priority. Now, let me make it more focused and local. Now, if you look at these incidents that has happened in Kerala, now I've just taken a few examples randomly. There are many more that are there, and there are many more that can be more relevant from the other markets, other states as well. But being all of us being in this particular part of the world, or belonging to this particular part of the world, I thought let me put these few examples. So four different locations, as you see here. Let's look at the first one, which happened in Thrissur in Perinjanam. It was a case wherein somebody had consumed kurimandi, contaminated mayonnaise. It is not established by lab reports that it is due to mayonnaise, but there are doubts that it is due to mayonnaise. Yeah, and one thing which we need to focus in that case is actually the shop was actually closed. Initially, it was closed a couple of months back. It reopened, and then another food poisoning case happened. So that was the first case, which resulted in almost 250 plus cases and one death. The second one in the second box, as you see, is a case in Aryanad, wherein the trawling ban was going on, and I'm sure you have heard of it. The trawling ban was going on. There was less supply of fresh fish. So what they did is they had some stale fish mixed with a good fish, the good quality ones, added some chemicals, preservatives. God knows what those chemicals were, and this was sold, and people got sick, and hundreds were hospitalized. The third case is not a food poisoning, but I would like to emphasize is this because there was a lot of case of Shigella outbreak due to water contamination, and all of us know, all of us, all leaders, and all of us know that June or May, June starts the month of monsoon. Such things do occur, and such things are being a pattern throughout, throughout the year. So why didn't we focus on it? Why didn't we take necessary measures to reduce those issues, or to train people to have workshops on it, and to ensure that the water is either free from contamination, or people do take care of it. And this resulted in almost not just in Kozhikode, in a couple of other districts as well, few deaths and 135 cases of hospitalization. Another one which I saw recently was in Chirangir. Again, it was from a shawarma. I think one of the staple food in Kerala as such now. Again, a couple of food poisoning cases. Now, this was actually a newly opened show which actually offered a compo offer, and then this happened. Now, if you look into these four cases, now different places, different locations, but what you could see is there was a failure in some aspect. There was a repeated pattern. None of them woke up telling that I'm going to make these many people sick. None of them woke up telling that I don't care any one of them, let me make money. None of them had that thought. But what they did was they prioritized other options. They prioritized other things when food safety came in between. So one shared pattern, but food safety was not taken as not taken as a value. It was actually considered as optional in all the cases. So when food safety is considered optional, due to stress, due to less of staff, due to lack of supply. In all these cases, what happens is the existing pattern does continue, and then the system fails, and you see that the food safety is lost. So just a small attention in these four cases, just to show that things can happen even when not even when we are careful. Now, what went wrong, and what are the root causes? So if you look at the root causes of all this, it's all the same, and it's never a new a pathogen coming up. It could be a new pathogen coming up, but mostly these are the four, these are the six things that you would normally see as a root cause. Temperature abuse. The food is left in the danger zone for a long time. Cross contamination between raw food and safe food or clean food or sanitized food. Poor hand hygiene. Hand washing is missing somewhere. You have a lot of suppliers are there, but then are we buying in from reliable sources? Are we buying in from good suppliers? Are the food handlers trained? Are people handling the food? Let it be at homes, let it be in restaurants, let it be in manufacturing units. Are they trained in the right way? Do we have formal certifications, recognized inspections done to restaurants, to the food outlets that we have? We do have, especially in our place, we do have a lot of informal stores. We do have a lot of informal restaurants, home bakers baking food and cooking food and serving to the people. So what is going on wrong is all the same. So that if you can see, there's a pattern that's going on. When you see the root cause. Now, is this actually the root cause? So yes, these are the factors that led to their problem. But when you dig in deeper into the root cause, it could be something different. Now we'll see what is that. Now I want you to put this same situations, different situations, in and look into the mindset as different outcomes. If your mindset towards food safety is value, the outcome would be different. And if your mindset towards food safety is a priority, the outcome can be different. So let's look at some of these examples, which we just saw now. Supply runs short. This was the case with Aryanar. So let's say the supply runs short. So we don't have enough fish, or the manufacturers do not have enough items to sell because of the lack of supply, because of the lack of the raw ingredients from the suppliers. If the organization has got a value mindset, they would prefer to sell less. They would not mix in other ingredients and sell the food item which is unsafe to the public. But if you have a priority mindset, for example, you click into the cost. Okay, now I have got these many staff. How do I feed this staff? What about the business? We look into all those, and if you are under pressure, what happens is when supply runs short, you would substitute something unsafe and make people sick. You may not be doing it deliberately, but this is what happens when food safety is just a priority. Another example to quote. For example, the local regulatory authority have issued a warning against your organization. Yeah, it could be a manufacturing unit, a restaurant, or a food service kitchen, anyone. A warning is issued. If that organization has got a value mindset, they would think about it, they would accept it, and they will see, okay, where can I improve? They will rebuild the good practice and put that into implementation. Whereas if the organization has got a priority mindset, just like the other restaurant, what they did in the first case was they reopened it. Yeah, after a food poisoning case, they reopened it. Practices remain unchanged. Maybe for an initial few months, they change it and they go back to the original pattern of what they have been doing it, keeping just food safety as just a priority. Nobody is watching. Fine. I don't have any inspections happening. Nobody is coming and auditing me. Everything is going on fine, and I'm selling food, and I'm all is well. If it is a value mindset, the organization, what they would do, they will continuously follow the standards. in a consistent way. At the same time, they would also review their style. They would also review what's happening. They would also check and audit what's happening so that they can make continuous improvement. Whereas an organization with the primary mindset, what they would do, fine, nobody is watching, so that's fine. So let me do something on the other side. Let me do something under the table. It's fine. Nobody is getting sick. One of the last examples I want to put forth is, for example, an outbreak happens. An outbreak happens in another place and it hits the news. A value mindset, they don't have to change anything, but because they know that things are strong. But of course, they'll have to look into the SOPs, their suppliers. They will have to review their implementation, and then if any changes needs to be done, put into practice. Whereas a primary mindset would be, something has happened, so let me do some inspections, check, and then this can slowly fade. So this is what I want to bring you to focus, that when you have a value mindset and when you have a priority mindset, things change, the actions change, the focus change, not because you want to deliberately make someone sick, but it's just that things change, priorities change. It's no more a value for me, it's just a priority for me. So, again, an important statement which I want to focus is, here nobody chose to be unsafe. Each prioritized safety against something else, of course, and it gets lost. So, do we need to take it as a value and a priority? Another emphasizing that question again to you. Now, just take a minute in reading this statement, please, and just read it loud for you. Yeah. If something has been a particular way for 15, 20 years, it's a pretty good sign that in these changing times, it is being done the wrong way. So, what does that mean? We are good. We are good at everything. 15 to 20 years, we have been following this, or maybe more than that, we are following it. We didn't have any major food poisoning cases. Nobody dies of food poisoning here. All is well. We have good people around. We're doing good systems. We have got good water systems, drainage system. Everything is perfect. And this is what we have to do. Nothing has to be changed. But what we need to understand is that when something is being followed for a long time, yes, it could be good. Yeah, there are other examples. It could be good. But with changing times, we definitely have to look back and see, fine, okay, these things were good initially. Is it working good now as well? If it is not working good, then it is time to change, especially because at these times, when they say that change is becoming so fast now that it is going to be slower, it's going to be more fast in the coming days. So change is inevitable. So when you know that changes are happening, we cannot follow the same thing over and over again. We have to pause, we have to look into what's happening, we have to reflect into other things, we have to learn from what's happening around the world, and we have to improve. For example, let me take an example for the Onam. Like, next week everybody's celebrating Onam, holidays are there, people gather, relatives gather, and I'm sure all of us, we have had those times of days during the Onam holidays when we used to be together and we cook. We spend most of our time in the kitchen, mostly cooking 20, 25 number of dishes. And when days change, when years change, what do we tend to do now? We would like to sit with our friends, happily enjoying chatting, doing some games and everything. We would like to prefer the food come from outside, from a catering company. So things change, and it is inevitable that we need to go ahead with the changes. The same way with food safety. So whatever we have been doing years back, some of them could be good, some of them may not be good. So we need to pause, we need to review and see what needs to be changed and what can be improvised. So what needs to be changed? What we need to anchor within us or within our systems is that food safety is more than food science. So we talk about food safety as food science, but it's more than food science. Now, when you say food science, we talk about time temperatures, cross contamination, danger zone, HACCP, ISO certifications. We have got all those loads of science that we have learned, and it is good. It's definitely good. And I think we have captured and we have conquered enough parts of food science. At the same time, we need to look into is also the soft stuff, which is the behavior science as well. So I call it as food science as a hard stuff and the behavioral science as a soft science. So there has to be a proper collaboration between the hard and the soft stuff to ensure that food safety is considered as a value and it is always at the minds of the people. So, what it said is that food safety is equal to behavior. Yes, food science is important, but at the same time, it's important to change the attitude. It's important to change the behavior of the people. And if you look at those instances that has happened, those examples that I had shared with you, you can all say that if the behavioral attitude was changed a little, was tweaked a little, food safety would have been at a different level. And this particular quote that you see here, food safety is more than food science, this behavioral science is not from me, it's from a food safety scientist who is passionate about food safety behaviors and culture. His name is Frank Yannis, and if you browse his name, you can see, books and related articles to it, who talks widely about food safety culture. Now, culture is a long term, is a elaborate term. I'm not going to go into those details, but how we can reach there is what I'm going to talk to you further. So, food safety is not just food science; it also includes behavioral science as well. So, why food safety must be made a value? And now, as we said, as you said earlier, Jyoti said, integrity and honesty is a value. So values don't change, priorities do. Priorities do change. So whatever happens, less of stuff, less of supply stock in the market. I don't get pasteurized eggs in the market. Whatever it is, values don't change. I would stick on to what I believe in. Food safety has to be my top top values in my list. Culture is built on values. So when, for example, when a group of people has a similar value, this actually cross contaminates in a good way. It shares between people, and a whole community is changed, a whole society is changed, and the whole culture is changed. So culture is actually built on the value. So being making food safety a value is important. So I take food safety as a value. My colleagues do it. My group does it in the organization, and this actually is shared between the others. And the entire organization thinks that food safety is a value, and I built a strong, positive food safety culture in my organization. Now, when I say food safety is a value, even when nobody is watching, food safety is taken care of. I don't need to be inspected. I don't need a CCTV camera. I don't need to be. I don't need to be supervised. When I'm working with food, I do wear a hair cover in the right hair net in the right way when I'm handling food. I wash my hands as soon as I get out of my washroom, as soon as my washroom activities are done. So even when no one is watching, I do have the integrity to keep food safety as a value. When you keep food safety as a value, or when an organization keeps food safety as a value, it creates trust and confidence within the people, within the state, and of course within the country as well. So the trust and the confidence is built. Now we talk about training, we talk about certifications, we talk about systems, we talk about standards, and awarding awards and all that, in our system. Now all that system can be well anchored if you consider food safety as a value. So I strongly believe that food safety must be made a value. With my practice, with my 20 years of experience that I have got, I've seen that if food safety is just a checkbox, food safety is just a if it is just a tick in the box, it might do good for few years, but for a long run, food safety must be made a value. And it's, as I said, it's not just me, Frank Candace, and there are many other enthusiasts of food safety culture who would speak a lot about it. And one important thing is that it starts from each one of us. And I call each one of you as leaders. When I say leaders, these are not leaders of the district, or these are not leaders of the nation, of the state. I call each one of you as leaders. You are a leader at home. You are a leader in your workplace. You are a leader in your organization. You might be quality checking the food that is being served to the hospitals, to the patients, to the immunocompromised patients. Every one of you is a leader. And making food safety a value, that change has to come from the top. It will not go from down to top. It has to come from the top. It has to be coming from the top management. If it is an organization, it has to come from the leaders. It has to come from those people who has a say in the country, who has a say in the nation, who has a say in the place, who has a say in the organization. So leaders should always lead by example. Now, how to make this knowledge into behavior. So how do you build this up? So I say food safety must be a value, and Frank Yannis says food safety must be a value and not a priority. Now, how do you bring this? Now, what I'm telling you now are practical steps which we have tried in for the past 10 years. I've tried this in previous institution where I was working. So these are just practical tips. There's no reference. This is my way of how it was implemented. So how to make food safety a value? As I said, first of all, we need to focus on the behavior. Now, how do we do that? First and foremost, whoever it is, it could be a leader, it could be a manager, it could be a staff, it could be a delivery personnel, it could be anyone. They should have the right knowledge. They should know what to do, how to do, and mainly why it has to be done in the right way. We always focus on what and how, but we rarely focus on why it has to be done. What are the consequences of it? So have the right knowledge. Once they have the right knowledge, or once you have the right knowledge, you put into practice. So anything that you learn, you have to put this into practice. Apply it every day, apply it to your daily task, and put it as a priority, and then put into practice. Now, once you put into practice, you might say that there are a few mistakes that I have done, let me correct it. Then in that case, what you should do, correct it, do it, and repeat it right. So you have the right knowledge, you implement this in the right way, and you repeat it right. And when you repeat it right, what happens? It becomes a, excuse me, it becomes a habit. And this here, and here you have the turning point. When something becomes a habit, I'm talking about a good habit. Yeah, habits can be bad and good. When it becomes a habit, this turning point, what happens is, when habit becomes part of your daily routine without reminders, it becomes automatic and it becomes your behavior. So this is a practical, tried and tested method of how you can change people's behavior. So you have the right knowledge. For example, washing hands. Why do you wash hands? How do you wash hands? When to wash hands? You give them right knowledge. But if it is not put into practice, what happens? Nobody is going to do it. They tend to forget the right way. So it has to be put into practice. Somebody should monitor it if they're doing it right, so that they repeat it right. And you focus on it, they focus on it, you focus on monitoring, they do it right. And then what happens? Slowly, on a long run, it becomes a habit. And once it becomes a habit, it becomes your second nature, it becomes part of your behavior. Let me give an example. Back in 2020, all of us were struck with COVID, and the regulatory authorities had asked us to put a face mask. And I think it was 2020 March. We put a face mask, and we were complaining as well. Oh, I have to change it very often. I can't breathe. My lipstick, my makeup. I have to buy this. I have to have an additional budget to buy this for my whole family. So we are complaining about it. Yeah, 2020, end of 2020, 2021 came in, and as years passed, I mean, as months passed by, say, let's say by 2022, it wasn't mandatory, and it was mandatory, I think, in only in certain areas, hospitals and similar places. So it wasn't mandatory then. So when it wasn't mandatory, and when the organization, when the regulatory authorities said, no, we don't need to put it, you can remove it if you want, we're actually not very comfortable even removing it. I mean, this was my case, I would say. I wasn't comfortable removing it. Why I wasn't comfortable removing it? Because, of course, I have a dust allergy, and it was preventing me from that as well. Now, it looked fine, and it was actually, especially when working with the food facilities and all that, it actually protected as well. So it wasn't easy for me to remove the face mask. Why? Because putting a face mask on a daily routine became my habit. Yeah. So this is what I want to bring as a point to you, is when you have the right knowledge, if you put into practice, when you repeat it right, just like brushing our teeth in the morning, putting a socks when you put on a shoes, all these are daily habits which we have been repeated right from our childhood, and now it's part of our nature. So, knowledge, put it to practice, repeat it right, you have the right behavior, sustain behavior, and you change the culture of the people. So that's how you can actually bring that change in the behavior of people. People working with food, leaders, etc. Now, how can that knowledge become a habit? Now, when I say knowledge becoming a habit, I mean, like all of us, we learn something and we tend to forget. Yeah. How do you make that habit in a fun way, in a nice way? Make it visible and fun. So point to real examples, help them to relate to those examples, and not just any information from US or from other places. Make it visible, let them know that this has happened to my community, just just few kilometers away. So make it visible, make it fun. And when you say make it fun, when you're giving knowledge, when you're working, when you're doing workshops, have role plays within it, and and make them, and make it fun in such a way that they understand, they remember the stories. These knowledge can be remembered better when actually these are told as stories, these are shown as role plays. So make it fun, make it visible, make it personal, give examples, connect them to the risk that has been linked and associated to those news that you see. Make it small, and don't give them big SOPs and standards and say that, okay, this is what you have to follow. Make it into small bite-sized versions. Make it small, make it understandable, and especially with influx of many other nationalities, I mean, many other people from other states coming in, we'll have to make it small, bite-sized, customized to their language. All these would have to be done. When you understand the people, make it small, make it check, means monitor them. So when you do this, these are real hands-on tips that you can implement, wherein slowly any SOP that you have in your book becomes a practice and becomes a habit, and that would be the second nature and true nature, where you wouldn't have to be supervising them frequently. Yeah. So food safety is must be made a value. And how do you make it a value? Is by making it as part of a behavior, by making it as part of your positive behavior. Fine. Now, how do we do this? Now, okay, now all this, it's good, but is it possible? I would say it's not impossible, but it can be done. Now, if you look at these statistics, and I got the statistics from on Manorama. And these numbers tell us that yes, we can do it. It's not a Herculean task that we cannot do it. Can we have good inspections around, regular inspections around? Can we have workshops around? Can we train people in the right way? Can we have legal requirements for restaurants, for other informal restaurants that are out there? Can we educate the people around there? Can we look into the food service establishments, how they're preparing it, how they're manufacturing? Can we do it? Yes, we can do it. And we have examples. These statistics tell us that we have done this in weeks and not in years. So if this can be done right, being proactive right from the beginning, we can do a lot of changes. We can make a lot of changes and make that food safety a value. It's not going to be very easy, but I wouldn't say that it is difficult. It's not going to be easy, but at the same time, it needs that effort, it needs that alignment with all people around to achieve this. So uh, so we can do this. Yeah. Now, as dietitians, I know most of you, as I understand from Jyoti, most of you are dietitians. And how can you do that? How can you inculcate this thought of food safety being a value in your daily life, and how can you change behaviors? And I'm sure you give consultations, and when you give consultations, you prescribe the meal plans. And as you do that, you can also share how they can keep their food safely as well, the right temperatures, how long they can keep the food outside, how they can how they wash the vegetables, how can it be done in a better way to safeguard them, and even those at home as well. So you can give them, I mean, you don't have to give them lectures, you don't have to tell them, give them leaflets and similar. You just need to guide them as to what needs to be done to ensure that food safety is taken care of. Now, I mean, just make them think, okay, when you go to the washroom and you come back, do you wash your hands before you prepare the food? Just giving that thought to them. And then, maybe you can, even especially with kids, if you are going to schools and colleges and community network, I mean, show examples wherein the hand, when you go to the washroom, show an action, sort of a role play. The hand gets dirty and this gets into the food. And of course, there are multitude videos that are there in the net as well, where you can show this. So just let them know, trigger that question in their mind, are we doing it right? Yeah, along with the diet plan, because just the diet and the menus and the nutrition will not be good enough if the food safety is not followed. What about the caregivers? I mean, there are many immunocompromised people who are left in the hands of the caregivers. So, how do they handle the food, and how are they doing it the right way? Do they know what is the right way? So again, I think you can play a role in that. And community and school programs, as I said, and especially schools, kids, it's a good way to reach the information to the home. So how do you nurture that thought of food safety is important, for the schools. They may not understand food safety being a value for the school children, but making them important, and food safety is important, is very crucial right from the younger age. And of course, the last point which I would focus on is flag any unsafe practices that is going on. Let them know that this is wrong. Yeah, let the authorities know that this is wrong, because as I said, every one of you, each one of you is a leader, and your voice matters. So it's not easy, as I say, but it isn't difficult. Yeah. So I think this is how you can actually change, as dietitians in your organization, change behaviors slowly. A small change can finally lead to a drastic change. And before we close, I would just three small takeaways. Choose food safety as a value and not a priority. And I think you should, I would say, do it as a as just a way of trying it out. Yeah, you may not, maybe initially you may not be convinced, and not you, maybe others, they may not be convinced. Food safety as a value doesn't make sense, but try it out. Ask them to try it out and see the changes. You may not see the change in the first month. You may not see the change in the first few months, but I am guaranteed, because we have done it. And of course, there are multitude factors. I do understand the factors that surround there, around what we talk about, but we definitely can make a change. Cannot make a change as a district, but as an institution, as an organization, we can make it, and slowly this can be built into a positive food safety culture. And yeah, second key takeaway would be food safety is behavior. We have done with food safety sciences. I mean, of course, the scientists are doing their job. At the same time, we also try to conquer the behavioral science. I think we can be in a much better place as food safety enthusiasts. And third one, again, very important. So hence the third takeaway, I would say that's my most favorite. Leaders must lead by example. And I say again, leaders, I don't say leaders of the district, leaders of the nation or the country. Each one of you is a leader, including them. So start from the leader. So when the leaders start to make small changes, small actions in the day-to-day work, and in enhancing the knowledge of the team members, the people around, the people you counsel, you will definitely see the change. So start from you and start from the leaders. It starts from the top. It has to start from the management. And I would leave the session with a small example. When I say lead by example, I always tell this even during my training sessions as well. I have my elder one is a son who's 23 years old now. When he used to be small, maybe 5, 6 years, we motivate the kids to brush their teeth in the night before going to sleep. So both of us, we used to go and brush our teeth. And at times the mummy is not feeling well, lazy. That's me. And I just tell him, Appus, go and brush your teeth, please. It's already time to go to sleep. Please go and brush your teeth. He would tell me, Amma, first you brush and then I brush. So simple as that. So where do we start? Each one of us start. The leaders must speak through their actions and values to show that this is what we have to do and this is what we can do. And my last statement, the goal isn't another rule. I'm not here to tell you that follow this rule. Just change the habits. Just make the habit a good habit. It's a habit that survives. Again, a food safety habit that I'm talking about. It's a habit that survives, builds positive behaviors, and a culture that needs no reminder. And with that, I end the session, and I would say, leaving the question again with you. So, in your practice, is food safety a value or a priority? We'll leave it with you. And in future, maybe somebody is asking you the same question, maybe after a few months, after a few years. I would love to see the same question as food safety is a value, especially when I asked you the question initially, I asked food safety, I asked what was a value, what is a value and what is a priority. So in future, and maybe a couple of months or a couple of years later, I would love to see under the list of value, food safety mentioned there. So this is what I would love to see among all the food safety enthusiasts. And thank you for listening to me. If you have any questions, anything to share, anything for me to speak, please do let me know. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sonia, will you open the chat box?
Yes, Jyoti.
What are the most common food safety compromises? Should I read the question or how do you want to put it?
Actually, the three questions you have explained well in the second last or third last
Okay, let me check.
presentation. But still, you have to emphasize the points once again because most of the viewers are dietitians. So, can you make the
Right.
point clear?
Food safety compromises you see in institutional kitchens and hospitals, the dietitians do tend to overlook. Fine. Now, what I have seen is, especially with with the hospitals, truly speaking, I have not got an experience with the hospitals, with the dietitians, so I wouldn't take that lead there. But when I
But still, you can adjust it with the hotel or other
yeah,
institution like that.
exactly. So when I talk about catering companies, which I
Yeah.
think the activities are more or less similar to a hospital, it's just that for a hospital, the dietitians do prescribe the diet, and that's how it is prepared. So basically, the structure is the same. How the people work are the same. So when it comes to the institutional kitchens, first and foremost, what I've seen is cleaning. Yes, cleaning does happen in a good way. There are chemicals that are used for cleaning, yes, but is it done in the right way? In it is if it is it done in the effective way? There are cleaning that can be just done, just wiping would be fine, but there are some places where you have to have focus on deep cleaning. So is it being done in the right way? And if you and certain areas, if these are missed, if certain areas are missed, if the cleaning is not done in a proper way, there are cases of dangerous pathogens that's coming in these areas, especially when you're doing it in bulk quantities. If it is a small quantity, it's fine, but when you're making it in bulk quantities, it can actually affect, and especially with hospitals, mostly they're immunocompromised, it can be dangerous. That's one thing. Second thing is the time temperature, I would say. How long the food is kept for hot holding, how long the food is kept for cold holding. We talk about salads being a very good food, being a healthy food, and again it depends. But we are not discussing that now. How are these being washed, how are these being sanitized, and how are these being held at the right temperatures? Because there are some pathogens that can even flourish in cold temperatures. So I would say time temperature abuse, that would be something we need to look into. You have to look into the equipment. Are they keeping it rightly? So when you say cold holding or hot holding, are they kept in the right temperatures? Are they being regularly calibrated, maintained? So that's the second point I would say. Your holding units, how that has to be put into. And the third one is choosing the right people. When I say choosing the right people, they should have, it might be another topic of argument. uh, they should know what is right and what is wrong. At least if they come in from different parts of the world, they need to know that when I'm handling food, and when this food is not handled in the right way, I can even kill a person. Yeah. So I think that information to a right food handler is important. So the training, I wouldn't call it as a training. They need that information in them. So just giving a training will not change the behavior. So if you put a person in a training workshop for 3-4 hours or 1 or 2 days, the behaviors will not change. They need to know the consequence. They need to know why of something if it is not done properly. So I think the third thing would be the right type of food handlers with the right knowledge and with the right behavior. So I think cleaning, your cold, especially cold holding, but the holding units, And then the third one would be the right type of food handlers. So these are the, because if you go for cheaper stuff, you go for cost saving. So this is where I think I would look into. And sorry for that, hospitals, dietitians, not a direct link, but it's hospitals, they prepare food, so I think it can be related. Can you tell 3 points of food safety to be reinforced in parents and children? So food safety, yeah, not healthy food, food safety. Again, first and foremost, I would say washing hands. We are all literate. We have kids who go to school, yes, but do they wash hands? I mean, we don't need to wear gloves. I mean, all these institutions and restaurants, they wear gloves. I mean, people working there, they wear gloves. Good. But gloves should not be considered as a second skin. Even if you wear gloves, it needs to be washed. So the first and the foremost thing I would say to both the parents and the children is wash hands. You go to the washroom, come back, wash hands. Once they come from the school, make them shower. I know it's not that easy. I have tried it, done it, but at times we fail as parents. So yeah, shower, hand washing. Hand washing before they prepare food is good. And second thing, what I would say is most of us, we buy from out. What we tend to do is we go to the restaurant or we have a delivery at home. We have leftovers. What we do is, yeah, that's my favorite food. Let me keep these leftovers in the chiller and let me reheat it tomorrow and use it. Again, how long that food has been outside. I mean, how long the food is in the chiller. You have handled it, you have already contaminated it, and you might have had many people around having the same food and you're keeping it inside the chiller. So I would say keeping the leftovers and reheating is the second point. So first is hand washing, leftovers and reheating. And another point at the food is, I think, food safety. I would put it as cleaning. No, not cleaning. I think I would go for the buying the right stuff, selecting the right food. So especially with the cost that is, I think, booming up, and I'm just relating it to I'm just relating the question to my home as well. You know, when the cost is booming up, and when you have got especially here things are priced at a very exaggerated price when we don't have when there are many economic situations happening around, so we tend to look into a less priced item. Yeah. And yes, I mean, I'm not telling you a less priced item can be of a low quality, but then you can check into those ingredients listed in it. Are they good? Are they safe? Are the chemicals, are the preservatives put inside safe? Especially because we have the right knowledge. We have the knowledge of, being a food safety enthusiast, or food safety experts, or food safety specialists, or food safety, graduates. So look into those ingredients, before you actually buy the food items for your kids. I think these are the 3 points of food safety I would focus on for both the parents and the children. Good question. Thank you for that. Please advise on finding food safety QA QC jobs in UAE with all certifications and experience. R&D jobs in food industry, trying for the past 6 months and not getting interview calls. I mean, I think we can have an offline discussion on that. I think you have to, if you're looking for the job, I mean, if you are here, I don't know if you're here, you have to connect with people around. There are LinkedIn groups. And one good advice that I normally say to whoever is asking me is, I think in October, November, I'm not sure when is the date in this year. There is a Dubai International Food Safety Conference that happens, and this is something which I tell to everybody who's actually looking for a fresher who's actually looking for food safety jobs here. So if you are able to come here during that particular date, it's actually for 4 5 days. But if you're able to get into that, you would actually be able to connect to people. That's what I'm telling you. So you'll not be getting a job there, but you'll be able to actually get to connect to different people around, and you can actually try. And things have worked out. I did advise few people, and they have got the job. So, but then you need to connect, you need to talk to them, and you need to find out. So it's not an easy thing. But again, I wouldn't say it's difficult. R&D jobs in food industry, I would say the same thing. You can connect to people. There is Gulf food that's happening, Gulf food exhibitions happening twice a year. So you can come in and you just connect with people. Yeah, and that's what I would say. All the best, Ramya, for your job hunt, and yeah, all the best. What are the food safety requirements regarding country-specific food regulations? Are these requirements generally the same across all countries, or do they vary from one country to another? It's different from different countries. It can be different from one country to another country, as from one state to another state as well. It can be completely different. For example, I think Kerala had banned raw egg mayonnaise, right? And that recently, and if you see, the other states have not followed it, and I think it was then taken care of, then taken by Tamil Nadu and the other states. So similarly, the rules are different, the food safety requirements are different. And here in UAE, if I say as an example, there are seven states or emirates that you can call it, it's completely different. The temperatures, you might have heard of danger zone. The danger zone temperatures do vary. So yes, the country specific regulations are there. Are these requirements generally the same across all countries, or do they vary? Yeah, as I said, it varies from one country to another country, and each country, for example, for example, if it is a fast chain outlet, if you are in one country, you have to follow your fast food chain SOP as well as the country regulation as well. There are country regulations always be on the top priority, but of course, we'll have your brand standards as well. Yeah, so the answer is yes. How do you distinguish between a knowledge deficit and a culture deficit when a food handler repeatedly violates a known food safety practice? It's the managers who can actually monitor it. If it is a knowledge deficit, you can actually get it through a quiz. When you do a Q&A, when you do a quiz, you can say it is a knowledge deficit. When you check the competency in the actual work area, you can say it's a knowledge benefit. It's a knowledge deficit. Now, so initially when you find it is a knowledge deficit, what you tend to do is you give them training, you give them the right coaching. Sometimes training may not be good enough, you might have to give some extra coaching, so you give them the coaching and you demonstrate the right method. So you do all the ways in which you can improve their performance. So you give them the knowledge. You as a manager, or you as a trainer or a supervisor, know that I have given him I have given them the knowledge in the right way. Yeah. And when you see that this is being repeatedly happening, what happens? That is the attitude issue. So culture comes much later. It is the attitude issue. And if that, to correct that, as I said, maybe one way is to make knowledge fun. Maybe he has understood it, but he felt boring. Make him understand in the right way of how, what are the consequences. So if he doesn't do it in the right way, there can be temperature abuse. Somebody eats a burger or somebody eats a thali, he can be sick, they can be hospitalized, and you would lose a job. So remember, I was telling you it's important to tell the what and the how. At the same time, it's also important to tell the why. So that's how you can understand the difference between the knowledge deficit and the culture deficit. And you can improve a knowledge, but you cannot improve the behavior by just giving the knowledge. It has to be put into practice. And if you want to really make the person improve, you need to be, at times, you need to have a bumper stick with you, not to hit him. I mean, when I say bumper stick in a nice way, to make him understand the why, let him do it in the right way, let him repeat it, monitor him, correct him. And then if you see still the attitude is still the same, then he is not fit to be in your organization. Because remember the story of rotten apples. Now you have a basket of apples, you have one apple which is rotten, and every day you pick one from each from the basket. Now you see this rotten apple on day 3, for example, and you see there is a small black speck on it, and you keep it back. You don't want to cut it and clean it and then take it up or throw it, because you don't have the time. So what you do is you leave this apple there in the basket. In another 2-3 days, what happens? The black speck has already rotten the apple, and it might have also cross contaminate the others as well. So when you see that somebody has a culture deficit and you try to improve, you can have a one-on-one conversation and see what is the actual lack of what is missing. You can try to build in that missing elements, but if you still see that the person is not doing the right thing, then he needs to be thrown off in the right way. Yeah. It needs to be moved off in the right way. He is not fit to be in your culture because he can actually rot the other people around. So you'll have to throw many others later. So you need to identify and do the necessary corrective action at the right time. I think that's what I have seen in my experience, and I think that answers the question. And yeah, so that's all. If anybody else has a question, let me know.
Super. Questions ഒക്കെ കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ട്.
Questions
എല്ലാവരും
എല്ലാം
വീട്ടിൽ പോയോ?
അത് അതിന് ആക്ച്വലി ആള് കുറവാണ്. നമ്മള് യൂഷ്വലി ഒരു 60-70 ഒക്കെയാണ് ഈയിടെ അടുത്തായിട്ട് നമ്മുടെ പാർട്ടിസിപ്പൻസ്. പക്ഷെ അൺഫോർച്ചുനേറ്റ്ലി ഇന്ന് നമ്മൾ എടുത്ത ഡേറ്റ് ഒരു ഓടായി പോയി. ബിക്കോസ് ഇന്ന് ഓണം സെലിബ്രേഷൻ ഉള്ളത് കൊണ്ട് തന്നെ അധികം ആളും ടയർഡായിരിക്കും. മേ ബി സെലിബ്രേഷൻ കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് എത്തിയിട്ടുണ്ടാവില്ല.
Yeah.
ഒരു question
അത് മാത്രല്ല ജ്യോതി, അക്രോസ് ഇന്ത്യ വാട്ടർ സെലിബ്രേഷൻസും ഉണ്ട് ഫ്രൈഡേ ആയതുകൊണ്ട്. വി ഹാവ് എ മഹാലക്ഷ്മി വ്രതം ഓൾസോ. അതും
അല്ലെ,
നമുക്ക്
ഇന്ന് സ്കൂൾസും ഹോസ്പിറ്റൽസ് എല്ലാം ഇതാണ് സെലിബ്രേഷൻസ്
അതെ
നടക്കുന്നത്.
അല്ല, നമുക്ക് അതർ സ്റ്റേറ്റ് പാർട്ടിസിപ്പൻസും കുറഞ്ഞു പോയിന്ന് പറയാന് ഞാൻ. But very nice session, excellent session it was. I think the recordings will help.
Marine ഒരു ക്വസ്റ്റ്യനും കൂടി ഉണ്ട് ലാസ്റ്റ്.
Another question as well before that. Some common examples of corrective actions. Corrective action, again, there's no one default corrective action. It depends on what is the root cause. So you got to do a root cause analysis. I mean, the terms seems a bit elaborate, but you need to identify what went wrong, and only then you can be suggesting a corrective action and a preventive action. So if you identify the root cause as mixing the stale fish with the good fish that we have seen in the other case, I mean, that's how. So you need to train them that that's not the right way, and you need to buy only from good suppliers or good suppliers, and do not sell it. So the corrective action, preventive actions are case to case. It could be just fixing the door of a chiller. That could be a corrective action. Regular maintenance could be a preventive action. So it depends on different instances. Yeah. Mariu's question: how should we handle a practice that is permitted by food regulations, but not be pursued as appropriate from a customer perspective? If a customer raises a concern, how should we evaluate and address it? Fine. It depends on the country, for example. Now, as I said earlier, regulations come under the top priority. So if the food regulatory authority has imposed something that has been done by taking into consideration different parameters inside the country and outside the country. So they might have done some studies to say that this is a food regulation, this is to be implemented. And a customer is obliged to follow that, if I understood the question rightly. So a customer has to follow it. So if a customer is a manufacturer, a business owner, in that case, he is obliged to follow the food regulation of that particular country, right? If it is a restaurant, again, for example, McDonald's. Yeah, now McDonald's have got a regulation in US. I've got my SOPs. The regulations are completely different. Now, I mean, it's similar, but there are a few things that could be different. When it comes to UAE, for example, maybe reusing oil is allowed, but at a permissible limit. Maybe in another country, reusing oil is not allowed at all. So it differs. Another example I can give you is some countries follow the best before date. So whereas in some other countries, like in UAE, I mean, they more are into the production date and the expiry date. So if there is a regulation in that particular country, even if it is a business owner, a manufacturing unit, a restaurant, a home baker, for example, they will have to follow the appropriate regulations of that particular country. I hope I answered it right and understood it right.
സാലഡ് പ്രിപ്പറേഷന്റെ ഒരു കാര്യത്തില് സാനിറ്റൈസ് എന്നുള്ള ഒരു വേർഡ് യൂസ് ചെയ്തു. So നമ്മളിപ്പം UAE-ലാണെങ്കിൽ salad preparation, what are the steps to be used? Like washing the vegetables, after that, is there any sanitizing procedure used?
Yeah, so washing vegetables, ഇവിടെ ചെയ്യുന്നത്, so what they do is there are different methods then. Chala companies, what they do is, chala restaurants, what they do is they used to use chlorine. But chlorine, again, has been found that it is not that safe. So some of them they use chlorine tablets, some of them they use hydrogen peroxide, some of them they use ozonated water. at different concentrations. Yeah. So what they do is they first they do wash it, and then they have got a calibrated a system wherein the water flows in with ozonated water, or the water mixed with hydrogen peroxide. They've got a machine which is calibrated regularly, and then that's how it's being used. And again, I don't know if you have seen the latest case in US about the parasite. Oh, what's the name of the parasite? It was actually found in lettuce. Of yeah. So even if you use these type of sanitizers, or even if you use these type of chemicals, you cannot kill those parasites, or you cannot kill those oocysts. It actually gets into those micro openings, or cuts in the bruises of the vegetables and fruit. So, I mean, if you look into that, there's a long study that's going on. Still, the FDA cannot find out as to what is the real cause, or where exactly it has come out to. But they have understood that it is from this particular parasite. I don't know what is the name of the parasite. I just missed it. Yeah. Yeah. So, but then washing is important. The first strain is important. Adequate usage of the right chemical, right concentration is important. There are other questions as well. Dietopedia turned client knowledge about food safety into a daily habit. Yeah, I think that's what I've mentioned. Like, when you're giving counseling along with the diet plans, do tell them about the food safety practices, because it's not just the meal and the nutrition. Excuse me, the food safety part is also important. Like, hand washing is one key thing which I would even speak to and a leader, or any person in the room. I would say hand washing is important. What else? Yeah, reheating food. Especially, we tend to reheat a lot because of the time constraints that we have. How often we reheat? I mean, we just reheat once, but then the food, that particular food reheated, can be safe only if it is kept in the chiller in the right temperature within 2 hours. So, what is the temperature of your fridge? What is the temperature? I mean, how long did you keep the food outside? So, I think these are the points that you will have to look into. And what else? Yeah, I think those are the points to improve the food safety knowledge of a client.
It's a repeated question, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Clinical dietitians.
Okay, all the questions are over. Thanks.
That's done. Okay.
I think Sonia.
Yeah.
Vote of thanks. Vote of thanks.
The vote of thanks. So, good evening, everyone. So, it's my privilege to propose the vote of thanks. I think one more question, something has come, something has popped up.
Food safety practice for cleaning non-vegetarian food.
Non-vegetarian food.
It is almost. Mic mute ആണ് Veena. Muted.
Yep. Yeah. Technology. Okay. So, when you say non-vegetarian, do you have anything particular in mind? Like, mainly we say raw food. Raw food and the cooked food items should be kept separate. That's one food safety practice that we say. And even if you're handling it at home or in other places, and if you have got a separate area, that's fine. Or else, if it is in the home, what we do is we better handle the vegetable and the other stuff, and then we go ahead with the other non-vegetarian items. And again, in the when you say cleaning, for example, if it is chicken, I don't know how much of you can absorb it. It's normally said that if it is a chicken, do not wash it, because the bacteria, the pathogens that can be within the viscera can actually spread onto the other parts of the chicken. So I used to wash it. Yeah, definitely. And since I came to know about this, I don't. And when I tell this in my home, they say, when I tell this to my grandma, she was like, okay, keep these food safety practices, with there where you're working. So, yeah, so that's one food safety practice I would say. Chickens, don't wash it.
Suppose the chicken we buy from supermarket, it is refrigerated, like cleaned, and it is kept inside the refrigerator. So we are buying it, then again we are keeping it inside the refrigerator means that is okay, or we should keep it cleaned and it should be, I mean, washed and it should be kept inside the refrigerator. What do you suggest?
Okay. Yeah, you reminded me of something good. So if it is a supermarket where you rely on whether there is proper cleaning and hygiene, I think cleaning may not be necessary. But if you're
Yes.
getting it
They are
from a
just
local place,
removing the
yeah,
skin and they will be keeping it inside the refrigerator, inside the supermarket.
so inside the supermarket, yeah. So yeah, I'm going to tell you two things in it. So if you're getting it from a supermarket where you can rely on where the practice are safe and good, in that case, it's fine that you don't wash it. Yeah, I'm coming to the second part of it now. But if you're buying it from a place locally around, then I would definitely say you wash it properly, because again there could be other hazards in it. Now, keeping in the chiller. Now, normally, if it is a freshly chilled chicken, it can be kept for 3 days in the chiller, maximum 72 hours in the chiller. Now, if it is going to be cooked, that's a different way, but otherwise, it can be kept in the chiller for maximum 3 days below 5 degrees Celsius. So the temperature also matters. So if you're sure that your fridge temperature is below 5, so again, you can keep it. I mean, that's what people do. And if you see the expiry date, and I'm sure they also put in the expiry date if it is a supermarket, or is it just cut and kept?
Sometimes only the expiry date will be given.
Yeah. So normally, if it's a freshly cut, let's say if they say that it's freshly
We
cut, and
cannot
if you have
say
just
it is freshly cleaned or freshly cut because they'll be keeping it for long hours. We don't know the thing.
Yeah. So
Sometimes you could
if
see
you're
the
not sure, yeah, if you're not sure of
ones
the
also.
practices in the supermarket, I would suggest you cook it and keep it. So instead of
That's the
keeping it
better practice.
inside the chiller and then keeping it for another 2 3 days, because we're not sure, maybe they have already I mean, they had actually prepared it maybe 2 or 3 days back and then kept it. Yeah, because if you're unsure of it, then I would say if you want to keep it for a longer time, you cook it and keep it, and you can keep it for, I think, maximum 3 days. Again, maximum 3 days, provided all safety precautions are taken care of. Another
What
way
about
people do
eggs?
this, you buy the fresh chicken. You can also keep in the freezer, but then again, that's
So
to prolong the storage period. But I would say, especially with the conditions that we see around, cook it immediately and then portion it and keep it in the chiller.
what about eggs? What are the procedures used over there? Egg.
Eggs are, again, it's still here.
Again, sometimes it is being kept inside the refrigerator. I mean, the supermarkets are usually nowadays it is AC, so it will be in the normal below normal temperature. And once we are getting it from shop to home, where we should keep it?
Ideally, with the current temperature that's happening now, initially, back in Kerala, I think when the temperature was around, like, tropical temperatures, 2025, it would have been fine. And if it is not stored for a longer period, then in that case, it's fine. But these days, when it is on a larger scale, it's coming in from different suppliers, different markets. You don't know how prolonged it is kept, how many days it's been kept in the supermarket. It's better to be kept in the chiller. Now, here, what they do is, of course, here there are strict rules. They keep it in the chiller, and then, of course, we keep it in the chiller as well. But then, if you are sure that, I mean, this is a fresh egg, it's fine to keep it in the normal room temperature. Again, around like 2025 for a day, maybe it could be fine. But then again, taking into the safety part of it, especially when you go to hospitals and such institutions, it's ideal to keep it inside the chiller. At least you slower the proliferation of the pathogens there, especially here, because we've got multiple suppliers coming from different markets, and we are not sure as to what is the actual when those eggs were produced.
Madam, two questions. I usually we teach students, like, because even the sink to be washed properly, right? Because even the chicken, the raw chicken, that blood and that red liquid coming out from the chicken can cause contamination, even your utensils, sink, even cutting board, and right. So what type of
True.
yeah, we have to adopt for cleaning these cutting boards or even the knife or even the zinc and all. Like if soap is enough or any other liquid also we need to apply, because that also cause contamination, right? Salmonella and
Yeah,
other.
actually, like if you go check with your grandmothers, or if you had been to their kitchens, they would, or even your mothers maybe, they would say this particular container is for chicken, this particular container is for the fish, and this particular container is you can use it for all the other items. So it's the same concept that we also tell. I mean, keep it separate. Now, it's ideal to have it separate, but in a home, when you are handling it, you know what is what. Yeah. So this is why I was telling, I think a few minutes back, I said, if you're going to prepare vegetables, you're going to prepare chicken, you've got multiple dishes in that particular day. You can start with the vegetables, finish off the vegetables, clean off the vegetables, prepare the vegetables, and then start preparing the chicken part. So in this case, we're not cross contaminating. But what happens is when you do the chicken first, there can be spillage of blood here and there on the wash sink, and then it can, and immediately without washing, if you take the vegetables, there are chances of cross contamination. One good thing is that we Malayalis, we cook the food at very very high temperature. So even if you cross contaminate in your kitchen, I think it's fine. You're going to kill that salmonella. Yeah. But let's say if you're preparing a salad, and if you're preparing a salad or a juice or some similar thing which is not going to be cooked, and it is going to be served to a child, is going to be served to an elderly person, that is where the risk is. So always what you should do is, even if you do this, even if you have different non-vegetarian and chicken and other items, your soap, your dishwashing soap is fine. It doesn't kill the bacteria, but what does it do is, as you wash off this thing, you actually remove the dirt, you actually remove this blood, and actually you wash off those pathogens away from the sink. So you're not using the dishwashing soap to kill it. So what you do is, when you clean it, you're removing it. Just like you wash your hands with the soap, you're not killing the bacteria there. You're actually removing the dirt, and along with the dirt, the bacteria also, slowly moves away from it. Yeah. So that's what you can do. And but for a commercial place, we don't say, do it like this. Do not just use just use this. So because a commercial place, there are hundreds of people handling the same food, many people handling, serving different routines, different shifts. In this case, there are clear cut regulations which says you have to have separate areas for chicken, meat, fish, vegetables, so and so. And if you for example, if it is a chicken preparation area, you have to have a so and so specified color cutting board and knife. So in a commercial place, the rule is totally different. But in a homely atmosphere, when you are managing it, or maybe one of your helpers are managing it, you can manage it in such a way that you can have separate utensils, wash the place neatly, and know what you're preparing. If it is a raw, if you're preparing something from raw vegetables for a ready to use purpose, in that case, prepare that first, and then go ahead with chicken and other things. And as I said, our food items are all cooked at very very high temperatures, above 75. So salmonella എല്ലാം ചത്തുപൊക്കോളും ആ temperature. So that is generally a good practice that we have.
The
But
point
these
is
days,
by hindering the growth of microorganisms, by hindering the
Sorry?
growth of microorganisms, by hindering the growth of microorganism, by washing the
yeah,
utensils.
when you wash it, you are removing it, so you're preventing that contamination.
Yeah.
Multiplication another contaminated ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞ ആ ഒരു proper temperature കൊടുക്കുമ്പോൾ, when you give that time, temperature, എല്ലാ സൗകര്യങ്ങളും കൊടുക്കുമ്പോഴാണ് multiply ചെയ്യുന്നത്. But before that, when you wash
We are
off,
sticking on the second rule for food safety practice, by hindering the growth of microorganisms, by washing the utensil, the vessels,
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, you can remove the contamination and then prevent the multiplication. True.
826I. Sonia ഒരു വോട്ട് ഓഫ് താങ്ക്സിന് വന്നിട്ട് തിരിച്ചു പോയതാണ്. വൺസ് അഗൈൻ സോണിയ, കഴിഞ്ഞോ? ഡൗട്ട്സ് ഒക്കെ ഞാൻ മാക്സിമം യൂട്ടിലൈസ് ചെയ്യാം എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. 25 ആൾക്കാരേ ഉള്ളൂ, പക്ഷെ നല്ലൊരു സ്പീക്കർ ആയതുകൊണ്ട് മാക്സിമം യൂട്ടിലൈസ് ചെയ്യാം എന്ന് വിചാരിച്ചു.
1.5 മണിക്കൂറായി നമ്മുടെ സെഷൻ.
അതെ,
ഓണം ആയതുകൊണ്ടും ആൾക്കാർ
കുറവാണ്, പക്ഷെ ഉള്ളവരെ യൂട്ടിലൈസ് ചെയ്തോട്ടെ.
ഒരുപാട് വന്നിട്ടുണ്ട് ആയിരുന്നു. നല്ല സെഷൻ
എല്ലാം കവർ ചെയ്യും.
ഓക്കെ. അപ്പൊ ഞാൻ ഫോർമലായിട്ട് ചെയ്യാം. On the behalf of Community Nutrition Forum, I sincerely thank our Mrs. Veena ma'am for taking the time to share your valuable knowledge and practical insights with us. Your session has highlighted the importance of making food safety a priority, not only in the professional settings, but also in our daily lives. You have given us so many examples and you have cleared all our doubts. And this was so informative and relevant, and also it was very easy to understand. So I am sure all of us have taken home valuable points that we can apply in our practice and share with our clients and communities. So I would also like to thank all the participants for your enthusiastic presence and active involvement. Your participation is what makes every CNF Dietopedia session meaningful and successful. So a special thanks to the CNF team and all those who work behind the scenes to organize and coordinate this wonderful session. So once again, thanking you, ma'am, for your valuable time and wonderful presentation. And though it's a weekend, you have spent so much of your time on us. So thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, everyone. It was great to have you all, and thank you for being with me in this pre-Onam session of yours. And advanced happy Onam wishes to all. And thank you, special thanks to the Community Nutrition Forum members, the team leaders, and of course, special thanks to my friend Jyoti as well for having me here. Thank you and good night.
Thank
And happy
Thank you
Onam.
so much.
Happy Onam.
Yeah.
You can leave, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Veena madam.
Right. Take care. Yeah. Thank you. Welcome back.